Hey YouTube, what is up? We are getting a ton of Darklords support in the Destiny Soldiers pack. I tried to hold off on making this video because there actually was a ton of cards being announced. They weren't all announced all at once. I think this is all of them now. We are getting 4 new monsters and we are getting 2 spells and 2 traps. I figure we'll start off with spells and traps because their effects might be a little familiar to you guys. First up, we have Altar of the Darklords, which is basically a defense position version of Monster Reborn. It special summons a Darklord or Fallen One from the graveyard in defense position. Pretty nuts. It's a hard once per turn though, so you can't use it all the time, but having Monster Reborn built into your archetype in defense position is amazing. The next card up is a normal spell as well. It's Casting Out of the Darklords. It's literally this archetype's Rhoda. You get to add any Darklord or Fallen One card from your deck to your hand. That does not just include the monsters, you can add the other spells and traps as well. Pretty broken. Obviously it's a hard once per turn as well. The next card up is Darklords Falling from Grace. It's a normal trap card that is this deck's Raigeki Break. You send one Darklord or Fallen One monster from your field or from your hand to the graveyard and destroy one monster on the field. Now the way I'm reading this, it doesn't target, so that's actually pretty nuts to have a non-targeting Raigeki Break. And once again, it's a hard once per turn. The next card up is Darklord's Temptation. It's a normal trap that is literally Change of Heart. You send a Darklord or Fallen One monster from your hand or face up from your side of the field to the graveyard, take control of one of your opponent's monsters until the end phase, and it's a hard once per turn. So this deck is basically getting Raigeki Break, Rhoda, Monster Reborn, and Change of Heart all built into its archetype, and they're all searchable. Does this deck seem broken yet? If not, don't worry, we're getting into the monsters, and some of them are nuts. Here we go. First off, we have Darklord Mascoma. It's a level 7 Dark Fairy type effect monster with 2600 attack and 2600 defense. It can be special summoned by ditching 2 other Darklord or Fallen One cards from your hand, and a quick effect which allows you to pay 1000 life points to copy a Darklord spell or trap from your graveyard, activate it, then shuffle it back into deck as this monster's effect. Not too bad. It can only be special summoned once per turn though, and you can only use the pay AK effect once per turn as well. To me, its hand effect seems like a last ditch effort to get cards to the graveyard. This seems like a Karaz of the deck. Like, you don't want to draw it really, you kind of just want to special summon it on your own terms, but if you do draw it, it's not too bad. I mean, I have a combo here using the older Darklords just to give you an example to show you that you don't need the new Darklords to make this card good. Basically, if your hand is Athena, Valhalla, Mascoma, Superbia, and Zerato being the 2 older Darklords, and you have Casting Out of the Darklords in the graveyard, you could activate Valhalla to special summon Athena, ditch Zerato and Superbia to special summon Mascoma, then you burn your opponent, use Mascoma's effect to pay 1000 to copy the spell in the graveyard, then you add Marie the Fallen One to hand, then pop Mascoma with Athena to special summon Superbia, who special summons Zerato. That brings your opponent for 1200 on top of that, so that's 1800 in total. Then you send Marie to the graveyard with Zerato's effect to wipe your opponent's entire field of all their monsters, and you attack, and then in your standby phase, because you sent Marie to the graveyard, you gain 200 life points. Not too shabby. The next new Darklord we have is Darklord Tezcatlipoca. It's a level 9 fairy effect monster with 2800 attack and 2100 defense. It's basically a hand trap that negates monster destruction. You just discard it to prevent destruction, but it's not once per turn. So you could have 3 Tezcatlipocas in hand and then just keep sending them to the graveyard if you happen to have all 3 and negate 3 monsters' destructions. And its second effect is the same as Mascoma's, where you pay a K during either player's turn, copy a spell or trap in the graveyard, activate that effect, and then send it back to deck. I really like the fact that they kind of recycle their spells and traps. It's not a bad effect at all. It actually helps you thin your deck out and then put cards back into your deck so you don't deck out later. Kind of like how Prime Monarch in the Monarch structure decks would send cards back to deck. You'd send 2 back and draw 1. In this case, you just send 1 back and don't draw, but you're sending back really useful cards. Next up, we have Darklord Eggstab, which is a level 10 fairy effect monster, 2500 attack and 2900 defense. And in the previous parts of this video, you saw I mentioned Karaz, you saw I mentioned Prime Monarch, and this card is very similar to a Monarch card we all know and love, and is broken beyond belief and is limited in Japan. This card is essentially Pantheism in hand. You discard this with another Darklord or Fallen One card, which is cost, and then you draw 2. It's Pantheism. It's literally Pantheism. However, unlike Pantheism, this is a hard once per turn, which I think makes it a little more balanced. And as usual, its second effect is the same as Mascoma's and Tezcatlipoca's, where you pay K during either player's turn and activate a spell or trap from your graveyard as this monster's effect, then shuffle it back to deck. And much like Mascoma and Tezcatlipoca, it can only be special summoned once per turn, and you can only activate the pay K effect once per turn. Next up, we have Darklord Lucifer, which is basically the big boss monster of this new Darklord support. It's a level 11 Dark Fairy type monster with 3000 attack and 3000 defense. It cannot be special summoned. That's the difference with this card, but if you do manage to tribute summon this card, it's absolutely nuts. It is broken beyond belief, and it'll probably win the game for you. If you tribute summon this card, if you manage to tribute summon it, you can special summon Darklords or Fallen Ones from your deck up to the number of effect monsters your opponent controls. So that's immediately going to fill your board up. Then if you control other Darklords or Fallen Ones, it can't be targeted by your opponent's card effects. And just in case you thought that was all of it, nope, it also has the effect of you can mill cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of Darklords you have on the field, and gain 500 life points for each milled Darklord or Fallen One that is milled with this effect, giving you the possibility to basically gain 2,500 life points at best. And now, I know I said before that it seems like it's hard to bring out, but if you use it with the new support and you use it in tandem with cards like Athena and with Valhalla, you can summon this card so easy and do so much damage it's not even funny. Bring out Athena with Valhalla and special summon a Mascoma by ditching a Fairy and a Superbia and have Lucifer in hand. You special summon Mascoma, then pop it with Athena to special summon Superbia, and then special summon the Fairy that you also sent with Superbia before, burning for 1800 in total, then sacrifice all three for Lucifer, and if you don't have a Lucifer in hand, you have Mascoma before you pop him with Athena, copy a casting out of the Darklords from the grave to add Lucifer to hand. And if you want to burn for even more, you can have Athena special summon via Valhalla, have Mascoma ditch Superbia, and Eggstab or Tezcat any of the new cards that can copy effects, and have Mascoma copy the Altar of Darklords effect to special summon Superbia, who special summons Eggstab, and if you don't have a Lucifer in hand, you can add it to hand with Eggstab's effect. Then you already burned your opponent for 1800, then you sacrifice Superbia, Eggstab, and Mascoma for Lucifer, burn for another 600, then use Lucifer's effect to special summon Darklord Zerato and any others you want. That's another 600 to 1800 depending on how many effect monsters your opponent controls. Then you discard a card for Zerato's effect, Raigeki their entire field, and after the battle phase, pop anything on your side of the field to burn them for another 600. So that's a possible 3600 to 4800 just burning off of Athena, not counting battle damage. And your opponent has no monsters on the field, giving you the chance to attack with Lucifer, who himself is 3000. So if you just use Athena's effect and just attack with Lucifer, you could do up to 7800 damage. That's broken. You could also tie this in with other Monarch cards like I was talking about before. Edea and Edeos with any other special summon fairy on the field will allow you to bring out Lucifer. It's pretty nice to splash those cards in. I really do see a lot of similarities between this and the Monarch deck, and some of the cards do actually work really, really well together. And now for cards I'd say would work really well with the Darklord archetype. One is Valhalla Hall of the Fallen. If you don't control monsters, you can special summon a fairy from hand. That's really nice. You can special summon any of the Darklords pretty much except for Lucifer, any of the Fallen ones if you really wanted to, and it's searchable through Hecatrice. So basically if you draw Hecatrice, you discard Hecatrice and then add Valhalla to hand. I'd probably run 3 Valhalla, 1 or 2 Hecatrice. I wouldn't run 3. That would make you break really, really hard. In tandem with Valhalla, I would run Athena because she's amazing. She allows you to burn your opponent for 600 every time you summon a fairy type, whether it's tribute or special summon. Doesn't make a difference, your opponent gets burned for 600. Then she can pop a fairy on the field to special summon a fairy from the graveyard, which means that if you summon Superbia with Valhalla on field, then you special summon another. That's 1200 damage. You can then pop Superbia, then special summon Superbia, and then use Superbia's effect to special summon again. You basically deal 2400 effect damage to your opponent, and then use any other effects you want. Just from Athena, that's 2400, and then you have 4 monsters on field that are fairies. And now that I mentioned Superbia, because anytime it's special summoned from graveyard, you get to special summon another fairy from grave besides itself, so it can't do Superbia, you can't do that. But it does help you burn your opponent for days because it's not a once per turn, so anytime it's special summoned from graveyard, it gets its special summon effect. That's actually really good. I'd also throw in Marie the Fallen One because you can ditch her really easily, get her to graveyard. You could definitely do 3, and if you get them all to the graveyard, each standby phase you gain 600 life points, which is nothing to really laugh at. That's actually a pretty decent boost, though you do have to work kind of hard to get 3 Marys to the graveyard. I'd probably run 1 or 2 because it's an easy card to ditch for monster effects and stuff like that. Send it to the graveyard to activate your built-in Raigeki break. You gain 200 life points and you get to pop your opponent's monster. It's not bad. There's also one other Fallen One card that I know of that I think would be okay in this deck, but I think it'd be a side in, more like a tech in against another deck. That card is Nurse Reficule. I think that's how it's pronounced, Reficule, the Fallen One. It's a nice card to side in against DDDs because DDDs love to burn themselves for effect damage, and they love to use Dark to actually revert that damage into health. So usually they'll set up board, set up a couple Dark contracts, and then have Oracle Dark on the field to stop them from losing life points and instead gaining those life points. So they'll end turn 1 and they'll have 8,000 life points, maybe 7,000, and then they plan on basically going up to 11,000 because of the Arc being on the field. Now you can stop that immediately simply by summoning Nurse Refical. You can special summon it, you can do whatever you want, because anytime your opponent would gain life points, this card makes them lose it. It literally flips the damage they would have gained and then makes them lose it. So now they lose the life points instead, and it puts them back into a lower position because DDDs, with their contracts actually burning them, can kill them pretty quickly, and it can pretty much game them in 2 or 3 turns if they can't get rid of your Refical. And then if they do get rid of your Refical, you just bring it back the next turn with something like Superbia or the built-in monster Reborn that they have. And I think Darklords Dorado has some play in this deck, because all you need to do is ditch a Dark Monster to Raigeki your opponent's entire side of the field, and you can bring it out from anywhere. Lucifer can bring it out from deck, Superbia can bring it out from graveyard, and so can Altar of the Fallen Ones that can special summon it from the graveyard as well. So it's pretty broken, the fact that you can pull this card out pretty consistently and Raigeki's your opponent's entire field, and then you get to attack on top of that. All in all, an archetype that has Pantheism, Road, a Monster Reborn, Change of Heart, Raigeki Break, and Soul Charge built into its archetype is nothing to laugh at. I think this deck can seriously be a contender for Tier 1. It can definitely go up against DDDs because of Refical. That just gives it an even better matchup, because all you gotta do is side that card in, and then you stop DDDs dead in their tracks on their next turn, because they'll just lose the life points and kill themselves pretty much in 2 turns. It's a really solid deck so far. I don't know if there's more support coming. It's definitely possible, but I think this is all of it. 8 cards of support in 1 pack is pretty good, I'd say. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, don't forget to follow me on Twitter @Schwabs to see when I post these videos, or like my Facebook page. The links to those are in the description below. And if you really liked it, don't forget to click subscribe, because it's free, it's fun, and I'll see you guys in the next one.